Fantastic. Let's start. So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our little presentation. We are very excited to be here today. For the next 20 minutes or so, we'll be sharing with you our hard work, what we've done over the past couple of months together, and that's its title, the Hunter Region Leading Australia Towards Zero Waste. What does that mean? We're trying to find a new sustainable solution that will help our precious land, reducing, hopefully, what goes into landfill every single day. So it's quite of a challenge, but we think we found a solution that can help us all. So let me first of all introduce you who we are. We're called the Team G or Team Green. And we are Team Blackmore from NIB, Andrea Coda from the University of Newcastle, that's me, and then Jeremy Allen from Metro, Rebecca Jones for the Port of Newcastle, and then Nicholas Percy from Barley. Now, I would like to first of all make a very quickly an acknowledgement to our precious mentor, Darren Sutton, that had helped us throughout this journey. Without him, we will never be able to be here today. And also for Ed for his precious contribution, and then Maren for keeping us right with every little details of the submission as well. Now, we believe that the best way to start this presentation today was to share with you an iconic image of what is all the proposal is all about. And this is what we have. This is a simple toy available out there that is made by 100% recycled material, such as one of these, and one of these. These are toys that are sold to children, made by simple plastic that will be thrown away. They have been thrown away, they've been recycled, they've been reutilized, so it's been commercialized, and people making a profit out of recycled product. And guess what? We have some real example here for you to hold. Here we are. So these ones, they're beautiful. We believe they're quite precious, and they're made in the US. So I want you to remember this little detail now. And I'd like to draw your attention on something that for us is quite close to our heart. And with the fund that was generously made available to us by the HunterNet, we believe that we could have invested this fund for something precious, something that has a meaning. And then we bought and we purchased a whole range of recycled toys that we brought it together and we donated to the Children's Hospital here in Newcastle. We basically thought we could have invested this money in other ways for a personal reason, but we then had an opportunity to share a special moment at the John Hunter Children's Hospital with Deborah Robinson from the manager of the fundraising association. Now, these toys will be given Christmas morning by Santa to the children that are less fortunate here in Newcastle as well. Now, for us, I would like to lead you then to the key components of our journey, which is the vision that we started from. And the vision is quite simple but quite effective, we believe. First of all, imagine waking up one morning knowing that all the waste that we produce will be fully recycled by an industry that capitalizes on the Hunter region's strength of research, technology, shipping, and manufacturing. An industry that can lead towards Australia towards zero waste. This has been our vision that gave us energy from day one. And then it brought us to our team journey, where we all met on usually Wednesdays and Thursday nights at Rebecca's office. And we are professional from a very different background, different fields of expertise. But what brought us together is the fact of our sharing common belief that we can put our energy, our enthusiasm, our passion for something that could be sustainable for and do well for our precious land, and most of all, help our future children in this region. Now, the proposal, I'd like to outline it for you very clearly, is that the Hunter, we want to position the Hunter as a pioneer leading Australia towards zero waste by 3 simple steps. Here they are. First of all, increasing the capacity and the capability to process recycled waste. And we're going to show you exactly the details of how we're going to do that. Second, driving consumer and industry behavioral changes. This was the most challenging part for us. We believe we have a solution that can be done and realized very simply here starting in the Hunter region. And last but not least is simulating a new market by capitalizing on a region established strength already available here. So pretty simple, but 3 key components. I'm now going to hand you over to our lovely Rebecca. She'll tell us more.
Thank you, Andre. Hi. So I'm going to talk to you about increasing our capability and capacity to recycle waste. And it starts with waste diversion. So waste diversion is waste that's diverted away from landfill. And we do that by reducing, reusing and recycling. You've all heard the terms before, so I won't go into detail, but we're going to focus on the recycle component of that. And in order to achieve this, we're going to need to increase our processing capability to reduce our landfill. It's quite a simple understanding process. We're just going to go through the steps. So, waste diversion in Australia. So let's talk about municipal waste. It's the easiest comparison with other countries. We're currently placed around mid-range compared to other countries with around a 40% waste diversion rate for Australia. Is this good enough? We don't think so. Team Green doesn't think that's good enough. So, how are we going to change it? Through increasing our processing capability through research and technology. By utilising the information's already out there. Other countries are already doing this at a way better rate and ability than we are. So we want to capitalise on that information, expand, research, grow the technology and implement it into better recycling facilities here in Newcastle. As well as including the capture of the energy that's produced from that waste processing. The energy that's produced from the waste processing, I'll go into details, a little bit more detail later, but if you don't capture the energy, you're losing that energy. If the garbage is put in landfill, it actually produces greenhouse gases, CO2, methane. So we want to capture the energy that's produced from actually processing that with relevant legislation to protect the environment from those gases and whatever that we're going to capture from that and feed that energy back into the energy grid. So we're going to look at a few other countries for comparison. So Sweden are the world leaders in recycling technology. They have a 99% waste diversion rate compared to a waste diversion rate in Australia of around 50%. Oh, sorry. Sweden do it so well that they import 800,000 tonnes a year of other countries' waste in order to use it for energy generation. So that's how well they recycle their products. India have implemented an automated underground collection system that has the capacity to handle over 400 tonnes per day. It's a new system that was implemented in April this year. Surprise, surprise, made by a Swedish company as the world leaders. It automatically segregates the recycled product. So it's the first system of its kind. It's called NBAC in the world. Team Green like this statement here. 3 tonnes of garbage contains as much energy as 1 tonne of fuel oil. So imagine the energy we could feed back into the grid if we capture that energy from the processing of the waste that we've got going currently into landfill and producing methane and CO2 gases. So how are we going to do it? So we want capital investment to establish a new research recycling centre so that we can research those new technologies, establish and use those technologies and implement them into existing recycling facilities or new ones. But we thought it would be probably most cost effective to implement it into the current ones that are already there and already have the infrastructure. And then capital investment into waste to energy plants. So that's about utilising some of the existing infrastructure. We've got coal-fired power stations out there, they're all closing down. Let's use that infrastructure, it's there to feed the energy back into the power grid. So that's a little bit of an overview on that capability and capacity to recycle. I'm now going to hand over to the lovely Nick to talk to you about changing behaviours.
My team's already talked to you about giving you a high-level overview of our proposal. Now I'm going to get down into the nitty-gritty. Behavioural change, probably the most challenging part of our proposal, and we have a solution for that. We're having a two-pronged approach. So on one side, we've got industry as a push system, pushing the zero waste proposal, and on the other side we've got the consumer pulling, so demand-driven system, and also an industry-driven system. Firstly, behavioural changes for industry. So industry require a business case. It needs to make financial sense. It needs to be easy to do. And our proposal consists of an interlink between 4 entities. So firstly we've got government, secondly university, and industry. We see them as collaborators. We need to collaborate. Our proposal is all about collaboration between 4 entities. And I now list the 4th one. So these 3 entities are greased, these gears, interlinking gears, are greased by a peak industry body, which we'll introduce with our proposal. More specifically, government in charge of research will provide research funding to the universities. They will provide a legislative framework to support industry in creating a level playing field and minimum recycled content in raw materials and products. The university can also leverage their strengths of knowledge and research to create waste and raw material pairing. So where one industry or one company's waste product, they can pair it with another industry that requires that product to infill. So that's a perfect example of recycling. And the peak industry bodies that collaborate, we see that as a collaboration enabler. They really enable collaboration between those 3 other entities. They provide, they act as a lobby group to government. They provide an overarching viewpoint throughout the whole industry, etc. And secondly, consumer behavioural change. Now, as over the past couple of months we've been discussing why don't we recycle as much as we should. We've looked at our own personal lives, our families, our grandparents, etc. And we came down to 2 common threads. Firstly, it boiled down to incentive and ease. Something needs to be, consumers require incentive to recycle. They also need it to be easy to do. And so our proposal encompasses an incentive-based system to really drive consumers to recycle more and industry to manufacture recycled products. So I'm very excited, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our green card system. So there's yours, Doug. So we call it the G card. This is how we're tapping into an incentive-based system and to increase the ease of use. So that's the G card. It utilises existing infrastructure in shopping centres that are already in place today, and it's a reward. So as consumers buy products, they get rewards. As consumers buy recycled products, they get rewards. They can use a smartphone app to see how many points they're collecting. They can also use the app to purchase recycled products. And so we've coined the phrase record and reward at home. So utilising the points they've collected on their G card, users can collect the points on their iPhone app, see how many points they've got, and from the convenience of their own home can buy recycled products. I'll now hand over to the lovely Tim to talk about the closed loop system and how this works in the real world.
Thank you, Nick. So you've now seen the 3 pillars of our proposal, but now I want to take you through how this stuff actually works in the real world, because that's the key to all this. This stuff really does work. It's happening overseas. Sweden's importing 800,000 tonnes of other people's waste. Businesses are making money out of it. Consumers are incentivised to recycle. And through all this, industry is using cheaper raw materials and the environment benefits as a whole. And the question we've asked ourselves, though, is why isn't Australia capitalising on this? And probably more importantly, why isn't the Hunter already capitalising on this, leveraging our industrial strengths and leading the country to a zero waste state? So I want to talk about the closed loop system. Probably the most recognisable symbol of recycling. It encapsulates really all about what our proposal's about. And it starts with collection and processing, and we put this down to consumer recycling. The more the consumers recycle, the more raw material there is for industries to use. And we need to incentivise consumers to recycle more, particularly in Australia, where you've just heard our rates are about 50% compared to 99% of the leaders. Second is manufacturing. This is industries creating products from 100% recycled materials. Equally as important to the loop, this is demonstrated by industries using the recycled raw material to manufacture products. The recycled raw material is generated by the consumers firstly in recycling their waste. And thirdly and finally is purchasing. Consumers demand for products that are made from 100% recycled material. That just closes the loop, and as you can see, if all three elements are working in unison, the loop is complete and fully functional. So I want to talk to you about how it works in the real world now. And consumers recycling waste is represented very well overseas by a company called Recycle Bank. It was established in New York and now spread across many large cities in the US. And Recycle Bank incentivises consumers to recycle their waste simply by installing a computer chip into their existing recycling bins, our yellow bins that we have at home. The computer chip records what they recycle and consumers are rewarded. It's that simple. They earn points which they can then redeem for rewards such as gift vouchers, discounts off their utility bills, etc, etc. Recycle Bank works by partnering with local councils. Councils save money from their landfill fees. Recycle Bank gains a fee. Council has more money to look after ratepayers, and we see it really as a win-win-win. And it's working in the US, and we wonder why isn't it working or established here in Australia, particularly now in the Hunter. Thirdly is manufacturing. As we've just seen, the little green recycling truck encapsulates our vision entirely. This is represented by industries creating or manufacturing products from 100% recycled materials. And as you might have noticed, it's made in the USA. The first thing that struck to us is what a huge opportunity this is. Why did we have to go to the USA to buy toys that are made from 100% recycled materials? Why isn't it happening here in Australia? And lastly, purchasing, represented by our G card, a system designed by our team to incentivise consumers to buy products made from 100% recycled materials. Again, that drives demand for industries to create these products. I mean, industry may have cause to create products from 100% recycled materials themselves, but consumer demand is the ultimate driver. If there is demand, industry will meet it. And so our proposal is to introduce a G card to incentivise consumers to purchase those products made from 100% recycled materials. I'm now going to pass on to the lovely Jeremy to talk about our funding plan.
Now to the money. There's $2 million on offer to fund our proposal to lead the Hunter towards zero waste. There are three distinct parts to it. The research and development. We will need to travel overseas to observe the best practices from the leaders in the United States and in Sweden who have the technology and they are managing zero waste. We will then set up our own research and development centre here in the Hunter to bring back the knowledge from the United States and Sweden from their best practices to bring it back to either reenact our own or establish what they have done from their learning. We will have a scholarship program in our funding program for 2 full-time university students to continue with the research into the capability and capacity to move forward. Second part will be the technology implementation. Now we'll roll out to the Cessnock region to 10,000 homes. Now we've chosen Cessnock due to the demographic profile. We anticipate a higher rate of intake from that region. We will need to manufacture the chips to be able to install to the current yellow recycling waste bins. The G card would need to be manufactured from our 100% recycled products to initiate to the intake of customers. Also, the app for the smartphones, we would need to design and implement that. Along with that, we will need to engage with the local businesses to ensure that they are partnered, ready for the incentive and reward scheme. The next part is we will need to then engage further a strategy to attract investment so that we can get more infrastructure to the current waste recycling that we have or to our own super all-in-one manufacturing plant. Finally, would be the marketing of it. We would establish a peak body to help collaborate to all the stakeholders, that in the consumer, industry and the government, and roll out our proposal. Now, I open the floor to the judges if there's any questions.
I have a couple actually. First one is why would Cessnock have a higher adoption? Why have you targeted Cessnock?
Well, we chose Cessnock for its demographic profile. Now, we believe it's, I guess, of a lower socio-demographic profile than you'd probably find in the centre of Newcastle. And for that reason, it'll probably more likely be incentivised by rewards for recycling. Essentially, the money talks. So if they're getting a reward, a monetary reward or a discount, we find that might be a higher take-up rate. And secondly, we do think it's more of an enclosed system almost. It's its own little town out there, so we believe that rolling it out there will probably be an easier process. And yeah, that was generally what drove it.
And my second question was, how did you come up with the idea? It doesn't seem, I don't think any of you work in this space, so...
I went for a run along Bar Beach one night, and I wasn't born in Australia. I'm Italian originally, and now I'm fortunate enough that I'm living in this country. I believed it's such a beautiful land. I've been here 2.5 years, and I'm settled here, and I want to continue my life in this beautiful part of the world. And I thought the best way we could really invest in the future, if I have to come with an idea with some potential, is nothing more precious for our lives, health, and the potential that our land will be sustained for a prolonged period of time using smart ideas that makes money for the local region, but preserves the future for our children. And I was fortunate enough that I shared it with my precious team, and it didn't take us long to both agree, and everybody provided some excellent ideas, and we grew from that moment onwards. Yeah.
I think, look, I'm in banking. When I heard Andre talk about it, I was sceptical. I'm thinking, well, how are we going to make money out of this? And then I heard about the examples of Sweden and India and the US, and it started to strike me that this is an opportunity, and it is amazing that we in Australia are so far behind. And I was just pretty much sold after that, thinking that there is money to be made. It's a business opportunity, and I'm just staggered that we're so far behind. We're lagging.
So can I just clarify? So this hasn't been done before.
Nope. And we already have a supplier ready to help us with that.
I was going to say you need to be protected.
Yes, I'm glad to see the copyright on your presentation.
I have personal experience in making patents in the IP office here in Australia. So how to make a standard patent that lasts either 7 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
So whatever.
That's congratulations, guys. The report is really outstanding, and I'm going to find it very difficult to score it because it actually makes sense, but it actually annoys me. And I'm picked up in the presentation. Why hasn't it been done so far before? And I'm keeping this list of those presentations, and it's two key themes with the previous presentation of yours about the hunter culture and also the need to collaborate. So obviously what we're doing now is we're not collaborating correctly, and this need to sort of change or perception of what we need to do to change. So I'm struggling to mark this presentation, to be honest with you. It is absolutely outstanding, but I'm struggling to mark it is because it should have been done by now. And obviously there's a strong business case. But the thing from my mind is just to comment is maybe one of the reasons why it hasn't been done is it comes down to leadership or a governance. When you go overseas, like everyone's done and gone, that's a good idea, why can't we do it here? These pesky sort of political things come into it. That's the real opportunity and challenge for the hunter, I think. And if there's an idea floating around, all very high quality from this forum, but if there's a succincter one that makes as much sense as this, that just makes so much sense, it should be done. So I guess now it's up to you with help to get it done. But congratulations, it was really, really good.
Yes.
Can I just say that I think what I liked about this one was that there was research underpinning it, and it's evidence-based approach, because that will set the scene for presenting a case for whether this is viable and doable. So it was intelligent from that point of view that you've got a great sort of living laboratory kind of setup that you've gone for. My question was around looking, I know you've identified Cessnock and that's the valid reasons for that. Huntley would be another perfect study community that's coming online.
Sorry, I loved your vision, because there's so many vision statements around, but it had real feeling and meaning behind it, and everyone could identify with it. I know those are all buzzwords, but it actually was really good. So,
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes.
And I think the fact that the vision has, just also, has got evidence that it's been achieved. We don't pass the world.
And let's face it, it's romantic as well, which will...
Just on the vision, I think we've all probably seen many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars spent on corporate visions, and that have taken 12 months to 3 years to develop. You guys have developed it in a very short time. Extraordinary content delivery in an incredibly short time, from which none of you are actually industry experts. Congratulations. Just get on with it.
But I must say, that's collaboration.
Yes, it
because
is.
it's actually none of you, like you look at Veolia and all of those, multinational companies, that is actually
The key.
proper collaboration.
Yes.
Well, just have to keep trusting on us, and we'll not let you down.
Can I just ask a question, because a lot of the funding that you put forward in your proposal was dependent on, let's say, government being the founding cornerstone of this. But we're seeing so many wonderful returns come from green companies across the world, and if you could develop the processing capability, you'd be able to sell that any number of times internationally. I'm just wondering how you're thinking about perhaps getting the commercial sector involved as opposed to a reliance on the government.
Sure. So I'll just correct you there. So with the most respect, the government is only one very small part of it. So our funding proposal consists of $2 million.
Yeah, so where was that coming from?
Well, from you guys. From the,
that's right, so it was the council, the 11 LGAs, no?
Three components.
Part of the brief was that we had $2 million to launch the pilot and demonstrate that it works.
I missed that.
So as Tim was saying, so the $2 million gets us going, and that was a breakdown of where that $2 million would be spent. But government funding is just only a very small part of it to fund the research, and then it's all self-sustaining. So Tim's probably...
So, as I was sort of explaining, the recycling, the incentive initiative would essentially sustain itself. It partners with councils, they save money on their fees that they pay to state governments for landfill, and they pay a recycle bank a fee. There's partnerships with the people who are offering the rewards, advertising on the smartphone app, all that sort of stuff is how Recycle Bank supports itself. But additionally, in our funding plan, we did have some funds put aside for capital raising. So selling the message to commercial entities who are interested and can see the benefit in it. So these green corporations who would be interested. So look, that's where we need to put a bit more research, probably beyond the scope of the project. But for that $2 million, it's really getting the message out there, testing the pilot, showing that it works, and then selling it to investors.
And I think the part that we need to remember is that in Sweden, they've actually implemented a lot of this through changing legislation by making it illegal to not use certain products. So it's forcing manufacturers to use the raw recycled product. And so there's penalties on those manufacturers. So I don't think we're at that stage yet, but you could certainly get to that point when there's enough raw product available. At the moment, the raw product's not there, they're going to go, well, we can't use it because it's not here. So if we can get the raw product out there, and then you start to lobby the government to change the legislation to make it legislated that they have to use recyclable product. Or as a tax.
And also, sorry to interrupt you for a second, that's where the university comes in. They compare waste with industries that require that raw product. So that's really where it is. And also waste processing, that what we currently do, costs money, costs a huge amount. And so if we can sell that waste to be on process. That's where the business is. That's where the money is.
Do you see for industry what you propose would be a more cost-effective disposal of waste than what they currently pay? So to encourage them to bring it into the recycling plant. So I noticed in the proposal you talk about tax incentive, but again that relies on government.
That relies on lobbying the government to change.
Whereas, has consideration been given to what would the cost of waste disposal in this environment versus what they currently have to pay? What does that look like as an incentive to encourage industry to dispose in this way?
So I guess in terms of the specifics of the cost, that's probably out of scope of what we've been looking at. But if you look at Sweden have been doing this for 40 years. They've been building this technology and industry for 40 years. We're well behind that. And so it's in Sweden, it's very mature technology. And we can certainly leverage their knowledge and bring it into the Hunter.
What drove the move in Sweden? What was it do you know, was it a consumer-based movement or was it an industry-based movement?
Well, in Sweden, presumably.
It was legislation. In about 92 they enacted legislation which essentially compels producers to be responsible for their product for its entire life cycle. Now exactly how that works is, we've got a study tour plan, but what that does is essentially, they make Coke bottles or water bottles, they are legislated to sort of, I guess, be responsible for the bottle that they sell and then its subsequent recycling.
I believe it started in the automotive industry. So I think in 2002, all automotive industries in Europe have to completely responsible for the waste collection of cars at the end of their life. And so that was a legislative requirement for them. And I believe that's how it started.
Is the absolute minimum that you need to take the next step to study to find out more about how it's done?
Look, I think so. I mean,
I think you've earned to study.
There's only so much research you can get in these places that are working overseas via emails and websites. I emailed a couple of these ones that are working overseas, so Recycle Bank, the UK has Green Redeem, and you get a bit out of them, but they're a bit cagey on their information as well. So I think so. I mean, until we can really establish the nuts and bolts of how these businesses are operating, and certainly in Sweden, how they're doing it, we're a little bit in the dark, but we're just we know the examples work.
And we have the advantage that geographically we're far away, so we're not technically stealing their business either. So I think we have prepared a summary for you as well.
Thank you, judges. We'll move on right now to the summary. Now, there's a few things that we need to take into consideration here. We need to drive the consumer and industry behavioural change. We need to make it easy, incentivise, rewards. We need to engage with government just to ease that burden for the consumers and industry. We will increase the waste processing capability and capacity. That's through the research and development. That's where the study tour is, engaging with the countries that currently do this and lead this in the world. From this, we're going to create new profitable markets. We all know it's going to work. From that, the future directions, beyond our scope, we can roll this out across Australia and create so many other things. Passive, active housing, cheaper for people who can't afford it, importing opportunities, and then optimising the port utilisation. A bit like what Sweden does with every port. There's all these possibilities. Now, I'll hand over to the lovely Tim with the conclusion.
Lovely. Thank you, Jeremy. So look, to conclude, in working on this project, we became excited about the opportunity to create a brand new industry. But not just one industry, a mega industry that capitalises on the Hunter's four industrial strengths that the Hunter region has to offer. But throughout the process, we continually asked ourselves, why isn't Australia already doing this? And again, more importantly, why isn't the Hunter region already leading the country towards zero waste? We can do all this in the Hunter, but the question is, will we? Thank you very much. Thank you, team.
We're going to take them back to the
Yeah.